Good afternoon to the panel, the members of the government, the speakers of the opposition, and to the audience of this debate. I'm Andrea Mehinay, the Prime Minister of the government. Ladies and gentlemen, before I start this debate, I would like to show appreciation to guinea pigs for being an important contributor to humanity's health. For centuries, guinea pigs have been used for medical research as they possess a similar immune system to humans. Guinea pigs have been used to study diseases like tuberculosis, diphtheria, and asthma. And today, they are often used in studies of sexually transmitted diseases. This use of the animals have led to the use of guinea pig as an idiom in the English language, which refers to a living being that is subjected to experimentation. Now, others might say that the reason why animal testing should not be banned is that animals are necessary for medical research. It's true. Many of the treatments and cures that we have today are a result of animal testing. Without animal testing, it would have been difficult to develop new drugs and treatments for diseases. However, to say it is impossible is wrong. It is safe to say that animal testing is unethical since we are trying to find cures to humanity's diseases at the cost of animal lives. And several diseases do not even naturally occur to animals like major heart diseases, many types of cancer, and even neurological disorder like Parkinson and schizophrenia. Experimentation on diseases stated are replicated artificially on animals to imitate the human experience. However, there are multiple variables regarding the human condition when experiencing these diseases, like heredity, psychological difficulties, and different personal experiences. Animal testing is also unreliable when it comes to research. Although tests in animals seem safe and effective, 92% of medication fail when tested on humans. Just 4% of urology medication end up being authorized after entering medical trials, and the success rates of drugs for the heart, cancer, and the nervous system are below 8%. With that, it can be concluded that there is statistically little value when it comes to animal testing. Not only this, animal testing can also be replaced by different methods like the usage of isolated cells and tissue instead of live animals, using computers to model bioprocesses and simulate the effect of drugs, use of organisms such as bacteria to study basic bioprocesses, or even by human volunteering. There are also developments in advanced human technology like organ on chips, developed by Wyss Institute and Harvard University. The organ on chips, or just organ on chips for short, are described as microfluidic culture devices that recapitulate the complex structures and function of living human organs. These organ chips are 7 to 8 times more accurate at identifying toxicity than animal testing had ever been. In a study that is presently being peer-reviewed, researchers from Emulate and the pharmaceutical firms Johnson & Johnson and AbbVie discovered that liver chips perform significantly better than animals in predicting whether a specific drug will be hazardous or not. The study examined 27 different substances that were used to make medicine that were sold, 22 of which were later discovered to harm the liver. According to Jim Corbett, CEO of Emulate, 22 of those drugs underwent animal testing and essentially were identified as safe enough to move into clinical trials, but later on were either pulled from market or required to black box labeling. For context, black box labeling is the highest safety related warning that medication can have assigned by the Food and Drug Administration. This development in technology is a window to humanity's progress away from animal testing, as the technology replicates the inner workings of human organs and can be used to test drug without the need for live subject. To conclude, animal testing should be banned. It is inhumane to force animals to be subjected to experimentation just for the sake of humankind. Not only is it inhumane, it is also unnecessary because we have other ways to test our medicine with the recent development in technology. We can use human innovation to make animal testing obsolete, and the organ chips are the stepping stone for that path. Humans may be considered as the top of the food chain, but in the end, we are still animals living on a planet. We should not hold ourselves in higher regard just because we have higher neurological function compared to animals around us. Because just like us, animals are also living, breathing beings on earth. We should respect the fauna around us just as we respect ourselves. Thank you.
My name is Mary Hannah P. Avida, leader of the opposition. Ladies and gentlemen, mice or men? Let's put into perspective. In the event of a flood, a rescuer is faced with a dilemma. He sees a drowning mouse on his left side, whereas he sees a drowning child on the right side. Granted that animals are entitled to some degree of respect, it does not equate to the value placed on a human life. Aristotle stated there is a natural hierarchy to living things wherein humans are superior to animals. The condemnation of animal testing is rooted in society's preconceived notion that one's moral obligation must extend to everyone and everything. Animal testing has been paramount to medical breakthroughs such as vaccines, cures, and drugs. The use of animals in research ensures the safety and efficacy of the treatment that cannot be replicated with either human testing or plant testing. For instance, the life changing polio vaccine is backed up with 60 years of research, and it wouldn't have been possible if not for animal testing. Penicillin, a drug responsible for having saved over 200 million lives and counting, wouldn't have been created if not for Alexander Fleming using a mouse protection test. The Institute of Cancer Research is responsible for some of the biggest breakthroughs in the field, such as developing treatments for childhood cancer. The institution attributes their successes to animal research as they mostly use mice to mimic tumors found in human cancer patients. Against popular misconception, animal research benefits not only humans but also animals themselves. The ability to transfer embryos, eliminate parasitism, treat illnesses, and use animal scientific innovations have been vital to the preservation of many endangered species. With preventive and diagnostic techniques available due to animal testing, millions of animals, including the common house pet, are saved from contracting fatal diseases such as rabies and distemper. The proposed alternative of utilizing human subjects would be technically impractical and more challenging than animal testing. The flaws of human experimentation arise especially within its ethical issues, for instance, offering terminally ill patients an experimental drug. At the prospect of a favorable outcome, such as financial reward, subjects are inclined to participate. From a utilitarian standpoint, animal testing is vital because it has produced a much greater amount of good than harm for the community. Morality is a creation of social processes in which animals are excluded from because they are not part of the community. A creature does not have a moral standing if what is good or bad for the creature matters only instrumentally or derivatively. If a dog's pain matters only because of the distress it gives to the dog's owner, then the dog does not have a standing. The driving argument of the opposition against animal testing is based on the moral confines that humans impose on animals and not from the animals themselves. Animals do not have cognitive capabilities like humans, therefore, animals do not think rationally and ultimately are lesser beings than humans.
Acknowledgement to the panel, to fellow members of the government, and to the speakers of the opposition. I am Shaina Daniel C. Recognizing the enmity of the opposition towards banning animal testing, it is still not the most advocated action to make. Rather than gaining valuable results, it's rather wasteful. The argument of the opposition concerns the safety of humanity, but in reality, it only prolongs its sufferings. Not 100% of experiments with these animals have proved their competence in developing products for humans. In reality, the results of animal experiments mislead experimenters and waste valuable money, time, and other resources that could be spent on human relevant research. They prolong the sufferings of humans waiting for effective cures. With the influence of the media, experimenters, universities, and lobbying organizations have held the majority under the misconception that animal testing helps humans when in fact it doesn't. According to the People of the Ethical Treatment of Animals or PETA, most animal experiments do not contribute meaningfully to medical advances, and many are undertaken simply for the sake of curiosity with no pretense of holding promise for curing illnesses. Animal testing is archaic and unnecessary. Banning animal testing does not necessarily imply that experimentations will be done on humans. Even with countless testings on animals rather, when experiments are carried out, someone will always be the first human to be tested on. Because animal tests are so unreliable, human trials are even more dangerous. Now, noted by the National Institute of Health, 95% of tests have shown to be safe and effective in animal studies, but failed in human trials to their danger, ineffectivity, and identified symptoms that were not detected in animal subjects. Animals are not substitutes for humans. Animals differ greatly from humans and thus react differently. There are many diseases that humans get that animals do not. Animals experiments do not accurately simulate how the human body and diseases react to drugs, chemicals, and treatments. With advanced technology and science, alternatives to animal testing are countless. Humane, modern, and effective non animal research methods such as organs on chips, organoids, human based microdosing, in vitro technology, human patient simulators, and sophisticated computer modeling have been developed by progressive scientists. Thank you.
The Prime Minister and the Deputy Prime Minister's argument was inadequate. In fact, according to the European Chemicals Agency in the year 2021, there are alternatives in animal testing, but it fails to offer the same observable effects as animals do, making them poor and unreliable substitutes in complex studies. It emphasized that non animal studies provide information, but it does not necessarily mean that it can completely replace information gathered from studies with animal subjects. Not to mention, animal research is often crucial in the creation of the said alternatives itself. Therefore, it is safe to say that it is inevitable. Additionally, according to studies, completely eliminating or banning animal studies will hinder our understanding of health and diseases and will greatly affect the development of new treatments. If your concern is about animal cruelty and welfare, there are plenty of regulations in order to carry out ethical and humane animal experimentation. In fact, researchers are mandated to utilize the three R's, which is replace, reduce, and refine. This way, they replace animal subjects whenever possible, reduce the number of animals used while still providing effective results, and refining the way animals are treated through less invasive techniques to minimize stress and pain. In the country, we have the Republic Act number 8485, which is also known as the Animal Welfare Act of 1998. The Section 6 of this act stated that it is legal to use animal subjects for research or experiments as long as it is expressly authorized by the Committee on Animal Welfare, which clearly supports our stand. Also, according to the European Animal Research Association, it is normal for drugs to fail after animal experimentation because drugs fail for many reasons during the development process, not solely because of the failure of animal testing. But as a result of animal testing, many potentially harmful drugs are filtered and rejected before it even leads to human trials. This shows that animal testing helps identify and minimize risks for humans and reduce side effects and even prevent human fatalities. In terms of claims that animals are not a critical part of science and drug development, it did not just enable many scientific innovations in the medical field, but also studies using animal subjects has contributed to 70% of Nobel Prizes for Physiology or Medicine, which proves the opposite. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am Zillion Rave Henderine, and I am the member of the government. If I were to pinch you, you would feel pain, right? That's exactly what's going on with animals. According to the U.S. National Research Council Committee on Recognition and Alleviation of Pain in Laboratory Animals, pain is experienced by mammals and possibly all vertebrates. So, anyone who essentially has a spine, basically all animals that we use in animal testing, can feel every needle, every knife, every chemical in every part of their body. Now, imagine if you were in that position. Would you still call it humane? Now, let's dive deep into what is the true meaning of animal testing. Humane Society International states that animal testing refers to procedures performed on living animals for purposes of research into basic biology and diseases, assessing the effectiveness of new medicinal products, and testing the human health. So we can consider that finding cures for animals is not considered as animal testing. So, all throughout the debate, we're focused on the medical aspect of animal testing. But the opposition failed to mention one thing. Let's move on to other things like its environmental effects and its sustainability. It is estimated by PETA that around 100 million animals, including mice, rats, guinea pigs, fishes, monkeys, cats, and dogs, succumb to animal testing. Imagine where all of that remains go. According to Phonalytics, hundreds of millions of animals' bodies, along with their beddings, cages, needles, and syringes are disposed of yearly, contributing to the worsening of the pollution in the world. Not to mention the fact that all of those materials disposed of cost a lot of money within the long run, making it far less sustainable. To finalize, it is an understatement to say that animal testing is outdated and expensive. We as a society should be focused on using modern, non-animal testing that are far more sustainable and humane in our different industries like pharmaceutical, food, and cosmetics, to name a few. Thank you.
How come animal testing is frowned upon, but consuming animals as food continues to be widely practiced? If animal testing did not exist, our understanding of health and diseases would be obstructed. No animal experimentation equals fewer medical discoveries, new vaccines, and treatments. Animal testing has led to many important medical breakthroughs, such as the development of insulin to treat diabetes. According to Cruelty Free International 2023, drugs have a lower success rate on humans compared to animal tests, in which only 4% are approved after entering clinical trials. However, even if it is low, it is better than nothing since animals are more biologically similar to humans. As stated by National Institute of Child Health and Human Development 2015, the human and mouse genomes are about 90% the same. Therefore, animal testing should remain necessary. There are indeed alternatives such as cultured cells, organoids, and computer modeling. Researchers make full use of them only whenever possible because unfortunately it is not yet possible to fully simulate the complex biological processes of a living organism. National Institute of Environmental Health Sciences 2022 explained that while in vitro tests can reliably identify chemical hazards resulting in cancer or birth defects, its development would become more difficult because of the complexity of the biological processes involved. If we skipped animal testing during the early period of the pandemic, what do you think would have happened? According to Reuters Fact Check 2021, emergency use authorization, in short, EUA, of vaccines in the US resulted in the severity of the pandemic. A new vaccine can take years of development and requires animal testing to determine its safety and efficacy before using it on humans. You can say that the COVID-19 vaccines produced by Pfizer, BioNTech, Moderna, and Johnson and Johnson actually underwent animal testing. And you can also say that using lab rats is purely immoral. However, the American Physiological Society stated that the scientific community already recognizes the importance of animal welfare and continually works to improve the conditions and reduce the number of animals used in research. The use of animals in research is highly regulated, and scientists must follow strict ethical and legal guidelines to ensure animal welfare. In conclusion, animal models are still vital to science investigation because animal research has played a critical role in medical and scientific advancements, including the development of vaccines, treatments, and cures for a wide range of diseases.
Okay, now the members are done. Let's have the free flow of the debate for 5 minutes. Start.
So, first of all, I want to comment on the statements that have been said by the leader of the opposition. First of all, I beg to disagree with the leader of the opposition. The analogy they've given is faulty, and I perceive it as a fallacy, as it appeals to pity. It puts the two subjects in a life or death situation, and obviously we're more inclined to save the child. But in real life, it is only the animal that is put into danger. I get that they're trying to point out that human lives matter more, but hear me out. How about we save both by using the safeguards alternatives in animal testing. As our deputy leader said, just because we're saving animals doesn't mean we're harming humans. Thank you.
Good morning. To put light on the issue also that animal testing is useless, we humbly disagree to that statement. It is a claim that is overly dramatized just because there is a source that said so, but it does not tackle all scientific breakthroughs and societal benefits it provides. Moreover, our team has already elaborated this, and it has proven to be the opposite of what the government is trying to say. This is useful because it has already been a significant part of the world's development. I can give you a series of lists. For diseases, animal testing had helped in crises of Spanish flu, cholera, polio, smallpox, diphtheria, measles, and many more. How about the animals? The animals that the government cares for, do they benefit too? Yes, they do. Pets, livestock, and even zoo have been aided. Sickness found in animals have also been helped. Rabies, feline leukemia virus, heartworms, animal tuberculosis, parasitisms, etc. Even the society? Absolutely. The whole world had taken advantage from it. Products, farming, antibiotics, surgical procedures, organ transplants, and a whole lot more of it. Now, back to the topic. Uh, Mr. Henderin, Prime Minister, Mr. Henderin, the member of government, has said that we have a policy. But the appeal of pity, did he said, but didn't he just use the appeal of pity just now while talking about how the needles that pointed to the animals felt? Also, why did the government remark that it is useless? If there's bunch of progress that animal testing has done, something is wrong, isn't it? To think of it, the praise they said is also a fallacy. Pretty ironic, isn't it? An error in logic. It is both a fallacy of division and hasty generalization when saying that animal testing is useless. It is a fallacy of division because they attribute the fails in the percentage of the experiment based on their sources to the whole of animal testing. Additionally, it is also a hasty generalization because they are using few information to classify that the entire animal testing progress is unreliable. These fallacies have been utilized perhaps to bamboozle everyone, to think that animal testing has no use where in fact it is beneficial to everyone. To conclude, we remain to disagree that animal testing is unreliable. Thank you very much.
Thank you for that wonderful statement. But I beg to disagree, or I think you might have misinterpreted what Andrea Mahinay said, our Prime Minister. So we are not um, saying that animal testing is useless. Rather, we're saying that it should be obsolete by now as it is no longer sustainable. I agree with what you said. Animal testing was good. Emphasis on the word was. Right now, it's not really the most sustainable things. We have better alternatives that we can use so that we can prevent other things, other consequences that it has, like pollution and other things. And now I have to also point out that we are not appealing, we are not using any fallacies because we are simply stating that the animals are being tortured and subjected to harm. Another thing I forgot to mention about this earlier is what Mr. Tolentino said. So he said, why are we eating animals and all of that matter? The thing is, they have the same outcome while they have different processes. When killing animals, you can consume them. Tested animals can't be consumed. They are just a waste. Also, killing of animals is instant in that matter. In contrast to animal testing where they are harmed, tortured, and put to a lot of stress before they die. It is important to note also that the animals we kill are livestock, while the animals we test on are simply domestic innocent animals like our dogs and our cats, mice, rats, fishes, and all of that sort.
I have a question for Mr. Henderin. As I have stated before, how come animals are consumed as food, yet animal experimentation is considered immoral, blah, blah, blah. Tell me, government, what is animal abuse?
So if we're going by the laws, Republic Act number 8485 or the Animal Welfare Act of 1998 provides the protection of animals used for scientific research. This law aims to ensure that animals are treated humanely and with respect and that they are not subjected to unnecessary pain or suffering during experimentation. So I guess that's where you can see or get the definition of abuse when there is unnecessary pain and suffering during experimentation.
Let me
Okay,
just
last
ask you to
one. Last one, Haley.
okay po. So you keep on arguing about the alternatives, but did you know that these alternatives will take years of research and development in order to fully reach its potential? It will take us years and it will use a lot of money, expenses, and even resources and tools. So if you say that animal testing is unsustainable, we can say that it is also unsustainable and it will definitely delay the development of treatments that is currently needed right now. So if we talk about severity, kung severe siya and kailangan na siya ngayon and kailangan ng mahabang panahon para makuha yung sinasabi niyong alternatives kasi hindi pa siya fully developed as of the moment. Paano na yung mga kailangan ng cure as of right now? And also, modern non-animal alternatives will be more unsustainable. And kung, let me just ask Mr. Henderin kasi he just said that animals used in research are a waste. It is not kasi just like Mr. Efonda said, it is not a waste kasi marami na siyang nakuhang nagawa para sa humanity and it will continue to do so.
Okay, that ends our free flow. Let's wrap up our arguments, starting from the government. Start.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am Althea Gabriel de la Cruz. As we continue to tackle animal testing, our stand remains the same. Animal testing should be banned because it is immoral. So let's wrap it up. In terms of research, animal testing is unreliable because animal organs and human organs are all different. And it is proven by the FDA in 2004 that 92% of medications fail when tested on humans. In terms of environmental toll, animal testing is harmful to the environment. Its culture produces a lot of pollution to the world. In politics, the FDA no longer requires for drugs to be tested before human trials. In general, human animal testing is inhumane and immoral to what we believe is what is right and progressive. To conclude, animal testing should be banned because animal experiments are not reproducible. Animal experiments are expensive and time-consuming. There are ethical concerns with animal experimentation. Animal experiments are not even predictive of other species, let alone humans. Animal models do not reflect human diversity. And lastly, there are other ways that are humane, modern, and effective non-animal research methods, such as organs on chips, organoids, human-based microdosing on vitro technology, human patient stimulators, and sophisticated computer modeling that have been developed by progressive scientists. The government rests its case. Thank you for listening.
Hello, my name is Daniel Lefondo, and let me just say that the debate has proven that the government's say on animal testing ban is outrageously exaggerated. It is driven by a broken moral compass with not enough logic. There are points to ponder as we prevail. The government said that there are alternatives, but we countered because animal-free studies may be useful, but they are inefficient and cannot replace the information gained from animal experiments. Government added that it is abusive. However, animal test subjects do not have rights. We do not violate anything. The assertion that all animals have the right to life is an abuse of the phrase. We are not morally free to do whatever we want, but do have obligations. Moreover, the animal testing community has been able to regulate and has been careful ever since. Animals lack the capacity for free moral judgment. This is the crux of the debate over animal rights as holders of rights must understand the rules of duty that govern all, including themselves. Lastly, animal research is crucial for comprehending complex issues and the improvement of human and even animal health. The very core reason why the government wants to absurdly ban animal testing are the animals themselves. Yet animal testing contributes heavily for the lives of animals too. The government has failed to tackle that. Now let us ask all of you once again. Mice or men? Who do we save in the flood? But why not think of rescuing both? In great terms, animal testing as the answer. Let us be in a day where there will be no more mice nor men in the flood. Let us be saving mice and men as we step on the foundations that animal testing has set for us. Let us be one for the future of both. Ladies and gentlemen, the debate is settled, but the opposition still remains loud and roaring as we shout, yes to animal testing. This is the opposition with saying what are ethics without clear logic. Viva la opposition! Viva!
All right, that ends our second debate. Now let's hear the comments from the representative of Group 1.
Hello po, audible po ba? Hindi ko sure kung group 1 po kami. Pero since wala pong nagsasalita sa kabila, so I think kami nga po. Ay, group 2 daw po kami.
Kami pa yung group 1. So,
All right, sige, let's see.
about po sa feedback namin sa government and opposition. Sa government po, strong arguments and rebuttals about animal testings in human nature. Second is maganda yung rebuttals nila kasi naka-counter nila yung points ng sinusundan ng speaker from the opposition because strong din po yung binibigay nilang evidences. Sa opposition naman po, in terms of delivery naman po, yung bawat salita po nila medyo conviction po and sobrang yung diin ng bawat pagsasalita nila nandun pa rin po at hindi siya nawawala. And second po, in terms of arguments, strong din po yung rebuttals nila pero mas strong po sana kung maraming nabanggit na backup evidences. For both po, very interesting and intense yung debate kasi tuloy-tuloy yung pagdi-debate ng two groups. And the whole time, walang moment na hindi nagme-make sense yung sinasabi ng both sides. And talagang pinanghahawakan ng dalawang side ang stand nila. So it makes sense the audience think.
Okay, Ashley.
Totoo na po ba ito? So, ayun po. Gusto ko lang pong i-commend yung both groups kasi nahirapan po akong maghanap ng butas. Ang galing po nila both and yung mga arguments po nila from start to finish, very solid po and wala pong nag-falter sa arguments nila kahit na po nag-free flowing. And point out ko lang po yung sa Prime Minister, yung sinabi nilang solutions na especially yung organ chip. Kakatingin ko lang and actually ongoing pa nga yung organ chip. So I might say na hindi pa siya sustainable talaga as pinopropose nila na alternative dahil nga hindi pa talaga siya tapos. So, paano natin magagamit yung something na hindi pa naman tapos, diba? And then, yung sa, tawag dyan, yung kabilang group naman, sa opposition, gusto ko lang din i-point out what how can I say this? Yung rudity nila na by undermining na mas inferior yung animals sa humans. Dahil, yun nga po, from your previous lesson po, Miss, from philosophical standpoint, yung environment po natin in the philosophy po is yung us being the stewards of the environment. So, we have the power because we have the intellectual capacity to think, but we do not have the right to manipulate the other being is just because we have the intellectual capacity to do so. And gusto ko lang din i-comment yung nung na-point out yung sa um yung pagkain sa animals, kasi I think na good na pinoint out nila yon dahil hypocritical nga for us na um kumakain tayo ng animals, tapos ayun, syempre nakaka-benefit yon, protein siya sa atin, and then um we're using it the same way para naman makatulong sa humans, hindi lang sa humans but also animals in fields of studies and research. Yun lang po.
Okay, very good. Representatives, thank you for your comments. Last one. I would like to hear another one from the class to give their insights. Anyone who would like to give your comments? Mike, you're raising your hand a while ago. Would you like to give your comments?
Paano napindot ko lang po?
Ano? OMG. Sige, magbigay ka ng comment dahil napindot mo.
Okay po. For for both groups, ang galing po nila kasi they defended their side very well, and very factual naman yung mga sinasabi nila, kaso minsan there are some points na na-exaggerate nila yung fact, and then medyo umaalis siya sa reality. So, pero kudos to both sides kasi sobrang extensive ng research nila. Nagugulat na lang ako sa mga sinasabi nila. Ay, meron palang ganon. So, ayun. Ayun lang, ma'am. Ang galing nila.
Okay, thank you for that. I agree with all the comments that have been said, because again, I ended this debate day with a satisfied and a very good smile. Kasi nga, kagaya ng sabi nila, ang ganda nga ng flow ng debate. It adds to the fact that you guys also prepared presentation, because Neil asked me if pwede ba mag-prepare ng presentation to somehow mag-support siya, since we are doing an online debate. So, kahit na online debate, damang-dama ko pa rin ng impact, like what the first debating teams had shown last time. Okay, let's proceed to the comments. Miss Baka, pero ang totoo po, gusto ko lang i-defend. Hindi pa tapos si Shaina. May mga gusto pa siya sabihin. Okay, look at my notes. Kasi nga ang ganda. Walang nag-falter. Tingnan nyo. Ganito lang siya. Kasi even the free flow, it was really good. Yeah. Just like what Ashley has said, na nahihirapan din siyang hanapan ng butas kasi nga almost perfect ang nangyaring debate. But I have pointed out some things here, like the government has said that unethical animal testing, because we are saving the humanity in the expense of animal lives. However, the opposition has also pointed out an analogy in their opening statement about men versus animals. But medyo nga it contradicts our lessons before this debate on the men being the summit of creation, but it does not give us the authority and freedom to manipulate other creations. Kasi nga, just because we're given the rationality. And you have mentioned that animals are the lesser beings. That's for the opposition. May I just ask, nabasa niyo ba yung script ng isa't isa? Ha?
Hindi po.
The member po ba, ma'am? O yung iba pong...
No, the script of the other team.
Hindi po.
Hindi. But all your arguments counter-argues the previous speaker's point of view. Yeah, that made the debate really smooth. Kasi from the opening statement pa lang that nag-mention na ng unethical for saving humans at the cost of animal lives, nag-opening din ang opposition ng analogy versus men and animals. So, somehow, nag-counter-argue na kayo. And then, the second speaker from the government, the deputy, has said that there are more cost-efficient alternatives. And then the leader, the deputy of the opposition has mentioned also that the alternatives failed to offer reliable results. And then it cannot be completely trusted and cannot completely replace animal testing because of this unreliable results. And then nag-mentioned ang member of the government that it is not environmental friendly, and then he backed it up with analytics that it is indeed not friendly, that the waste coming from animal testing are discarded every year and adds up to more pollution and environmental issues. But then the member of the opposition has questioned animal testing versus animal consumption. That how come we are opposing animal testing but then we are consuming animal meats, ganon. And then both teams have mentioned about the Animal Welfare Act of 1998, but you could have also added the amendments done in 2020 because it has been amended already. And then punta tayo sa free flow, because dun tayo nagkatalo sa free flow, because what was the first one pointed out? Sana dito. Okay, the men versus animals analogy, that it indeed appealed to PT. Kasi nga, of course, it is very obvious na when we are faced with a dilemma whether we are going to save a child versus an animal, then we will really save the child. So it appealed to our PT, correct? And then, kaya nga lang, parang na-bounce back din sa government ang na-point out nila, because it was also pointed out by Danielle that it somehow is ironic that they point out the appeal to PT issue, but then nag-mention din sila ng unethicality ng saving humans in the expense of animal lives. So it also appeals to PT, correct? And then overly dramatized daw that it is unethical to save humans at the cost of animal lives because kasi they have also provided that the development of vaccines and medicines to cure polios, to cure the epidemics and pandemics ay because of the animal testing. And then there was a pointing out of the hasty generalization about animal testing is useless based on the assumption and data na nag-falter or nag-fail ang other animal testing, that it did not really give accurate results, unlike what was expected. So nag-generalize kagad ang government na it is useless. However, it was also pointed out by Zildjian na di nila sinabi na it is useless. However, it should be obsolete by now because there are better alternatives. However, I was expecting that Zildjian will back up his claim with statistics or studies that will prove that the alternatives are indeed better, cost-efficient, and more reliable than that of animal testing. Kasi nga, yes, Zildjian.
Ma'am, hindi ko na po siya bringing up kasi na-bring up na po ni Andrea sa opening statement pa lang po. Na 7 to 8 times better po yung Thank you, ma'am.
But I think there were also some other studies that will further prove that indeed mas cost-efficient yung other alternatives. Like the other sections have mentioned about the cost of the in vitro and silico and that on-chips. Was that on-chips na alternative? That these are more cost-efficient than that of animal testing that cost around, was it 5 million ba yung naman? Basta something like that. So, yun yung hinahanap ko, na mag-back up ka ng more studies or data to prove that point that the alternatives are indeed better. Kasi, there is also a statistic or a study that said na, I think it was also mentioned by the opposition na, the last teams na, although animal testing was effectively done, but then when it was tested to human subjects, nag-failed siya. So, pwede sana yun ma-mention din. And then, the issue on animal testing versus animal consumption, very good, because Zildjian also specified that there is a difference between the kinds of animals that are used. Kasi livestock yung ginagamit natin sa consumption. And then, the animals that were used in laboratories are really like labeled as the guinea pigs or the lab rats. Ganun, di ba? And then, their purpose is indeed to be tested and killed. Then, however, the consumption thing, the livestock the purpose is to raise them, kill them, and consume them. So, magkaiba yung purpose nila. But then, there is a thin line between animal abuse nga rin and animal consumption in the issue of testing and consumption, just like what Dredd has raised. Kasi nga, there is an abuse, but then there's really a thin line in that case. And then it was also lastly pointed out by Haley that it takes years to develop the alternatives. So what are we going to do kung kailangan natin kaagad ng results? Kasi dinedevelop pa natin ang mga alternatives, and just like was actually said, na on the process pang developing nung on chips. Overall, it was a really fun and good debate. I was very satisfied with what has just transpired. And on to your scores.